Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Game Hub. I'm your host, Gamer Guy, and let's get ready to start cooking an amazing list for you guys. Up front and center is my Food Wars art print. It's kind of small, it's metallic, but I love it. It's got all the main characters on it, and my man Rio's right on the edge, looking all slick and evil and badass, even though he's not evil. So, Food Wars, I found out about a long time ago while I was in college in the culinary program, and the only memes I saw of it were the people getting naked after eating food. I thought it was some bizarre, creepy TV show, and I was somewhat right. But I decided to try it after a while, and like last year I got into it. And it was amazing. I love the food. I love how they explain the dishes, the science behind it, the meaning between picking certain ingredients and the cooking methods. And I loved it. I've watched it up to now in Season 4. I'm still waiting for Season 3 to be dubbed in early next year, because I want to know who voices Kuga, who voices Aizami Nakari, White Hair First Seat, Rindo, Momo, Samurai Dude. I want to see who voices them, because it's going to be awesome seeing who they pick to voice these characters. Also, for this list, if you're watching, you might want to have some food with you, whether it be some breakfast, lunch, dinner, a snack, what mind you, because as I go through this list, you're going to get hungry a lot. And I'm not over exaggerating that. You will be hungry, because if there's one thing Food Wars does well, is make you hungry with the dishes. So let's get ready for Gamer K's top 13 Food Wars dishes. Now again, one rule: I will only be doing a dish that from seasons 1 through 3, because I'm not counting Season 4, because I don't think they'll have enough to do a top 13 list. They could, but I'm not 100% sure. So after the show is over, I will be doing a video ranking all the dishes from Season 4. So I think that's kind of fair to do, don't you? So let's get in. Let's sink our teeth and our forks into GamerK's top 13 Food Wars dishes. Why top 13? Because here, only the odd can become number 1. Starting off the list at number 13, Megami Tadokoro, I believe, is everyone's favorite waifu and best girl for Soma, outside of Erina. But Megami has been a character that has been developing. I mean, every single character has developed throughout the show, but Megami has improved, because from the start of the show, she's been a screw-up. Like, she lacks self-confidence. She lacks confidence in her cooking. And it's not until Soma helps her, and then she finally sees that she has the potential to be great at that, to be a great chef and to cook more. And nowhere is that true in the first season, episode 10, when she's threatened with expulsion after doing the challenge, but not following the recette correctly. Recette means recipe. By Chef Kojiro Shinomiya, an alumni of Totsuki. Soma not being okay with this decision, and how Shinomiya was a bit of a jerk in this first half, Soma challenges him to a food war. But with a twist, Megami decides the whole dish, and Soma's just there for support and help. So Megami creates something that is her brand of cooking. And this dish, it's said to taste like a mother's love. How can you beat that? It was a rainbow terrine, which is 7-layered pate made with liver, sun-dried tomatoes, and 7 different types of vegetables: potatoes, zucchini, carrots, and 3 others to create a rainbow colored pate, and the presentation of the dish is beautiful alone with just the pate. But she also added 2 different sauces to this dish on the edge. One is a citrus gelée, which I think uses citrus fruits like limes, lemons. It just looks appealing. And the second one is an herb sauce with shiso, which I believe is a Japanese herb, and it's supposed to be like a refreshing. So what you do is you take pieces of pate, and you eat it with the sauce. So, and this is where cooking, this type of cooking is exponentially done. This dish has so many different flavor profiles because the 7-layer pates with the 2 sauces creates 14 different unique flavor profiles. So you could try the zucchini with the herb sauce, get one different type of flavor, and then cut another piece, you would do it with the citrus. For each different pate, you get 2 distinct flavors, and that alone is brilliant in and of itself. Having your dish go through multiple stages as you eat it is something that is very delicious. One thing that is also added to the dish is allspice. Not only to offset the smell of the liver, but because the judges were tasting different foods during the training camp, it would settle their stomach and make them okay. Having the customer in account in the preparation of the dish is where Megami shines. It's not just, I'm going to make them taste the best thing I can create. She makes sure that it's not too much for the judges to eat. Everything she makes, it's homey. It makes you feel alive after you eat. And that's the type of cooking that she does. And this dish starts off this list because of its ingenuity and because she kind of used Chef Shinomiya's terrine challenge and did her own spin on it. And that's something that I believe throughout the show, he respected her for. Coming in at number 12, I'm not one for desserts, but this one I would eat every day if I could. Ugh. And a big hint to my girlfriend, who is Italian, Takumi Aldini. During the fall selection, he was in the dessert battle, and he created a lemon curd Italiano semifreddo. And just looking at this dish, it reminds me of a tuxedo cake without the chocolate. So at the bottom you got a sponge cake, in the middle you got cold fresh ice cream, and on the top is toasted pralines to give it that little crunch. And the toastiness of the pralines, and the coolness of the ice cream, and the light fluffy sponge cake, it feels like a relaxing dessert. And to turn it on top, because he was going up against Subaru Misaka, a guy who copies people's dishes and then puts a good number of twists in it in order to make them better and to see the difference. Last minute, Takumi added a 3rd thin layer between the cake, within the cake, right next to the sponge, right into the ice cream. It was a preserved lemon preserves. And just the way he did it with lemons, a little bit of butter, and his family's special type of olive oil. The tang from the olive oil would get with the bitterness of the lemon and the butter. I'm sorry. My mouth is watering just thinking about this dessert. The way they described it is eating this dessert is like taking a brisk walk through a lemon field in Italy. How more descriptive can you be than that? This dessert, I want to go to a place that serves this dessert. Not this exact dessert, but something like it. Because after seeing it so many times, I would love to try this dessert. And for any of you who are dessert lovers, yeah, you're probably watering at the mouth right now. Coming coming at number 11, the first part of season 2 really had me excited for the final of the tournament of the fall selection. For the first part, Soma was in battle bento. Now, for those of you who don't know what a bento is, who don't watch Japanese TV shows or anime or know anything about it, bentos are essentially a lunchbox with food already made in it, like fried cod, rice with seaweed on top, a whole bunch of other foods in it, like dumplings. You can pretty much do anything in a bento. That's the thing that make bentos very unique. Every single one has its own personality, from the shape, from the type of box, to the ingredients used, to the display of it. So in Soma's battle, he used an iron steel jar for his box. And so it's in layers. First you do the sides, you do the soup, then you do the rice. And he was going to do a seaweed bento, which a lot of people thought was going to be very bland and boring. But obviously Soma puts his own spin on it. So what he does, for the 3 sides, he does shredded burdock root, which I think is kind of like a chip, like to do like chips or something, or some type of fry, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. He uses balsamic vinegar and mayonnaise in it, and to give it a little bit more flavor. And I think that would be cool. The cod is the cod in the fried cod in this dish. I don't remember what the third side is, but the cod is the one thing in this box I want to try, because it's seasoned in dashi stock. It had a beer batter, so it did not get so gummy while frying. And just seeing how it's separated, how it's broken apart with just chopsticks, and when the judge puts it into his mouth, you hear that crispy crunch of the skin, and you hear the mellow flavor of the cod itself. It makes your skin tingle just hearing the description of the food, and I want to have it. And then the next part is the soup, which is a miso soup with bacon and onions in it, and you put them in the jar, and it's piping hot, and it cooks in a couple hours in the jar itself. Now, I'm all for bacon and onion soup. I'm all for it. The final part for the nori bento, the seaweed with the rice, is rice and little granules of seaweed that have been turned into a molecular gastronomy, little roe, salmon roe, if you will, but artificial roe with the seaweed. And just the minute they bite into it with the rice, with the hot rice, it explodes into your mouth and gives you that taste of the seaweed, but it's not too much. It hits you like a wave, like a tsunami, and you're standing in the ocean. That's what I think it feels like. And it just, I'm babbling right now because it's so incredible. Not only that, but within the rice, he put Rishri Island seaweed and maguro flakes, which are like dried fins from certain types of fish. They're used kind of like a garnish in certain Japanese dishes. Kind of like a crunchy crouton, if you will. But the meal isn't over. After having half of their rice and the seaweed left, there's a third compartment, and it has kudzu sauce, which I'm not 100% sure what it is. I don't know. I think it's maybe like a sauce or something. You pour it over the rice, you eat it, and it's got 3 times the seaweed and flakes that was normally in the rice, and it just made the dish exponentially better. This is what Soma does best. He takes comfort food. He takes basic comfort food, and he elevates it to a high-end standard. That's the type of cooking he's been doing throughout the series. And It doesn't seem like he's going to stop. He uses simple methods to create these incredible dishes. And it's incredible. If I saw this bento in a store, I would buy it. But I've gone on long enough about the boxed lunch. Let's continue. Command number 10 is a bit of an underdog. Usually for a list like this, I will put a main character's dish or a main character's weapon on here. But that is far the case. Zenji Marui he's one of the minor characters. He's smart. He's a bit of a weakling. He doesn't have that big of a cooking sense. He's not strong. He doesn't come out with, like, throughout the show, it's shown that he breaks down very easily, like balancing a brick on a toothpick. That's basically what it's like. But for the fall selection, when they, like, for the preliminaries, the theme was curry cuisine. And when his dish was about to be presented, I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting. I mean, we've never seen him really do anything spectacular. He'll probably surprise us with something incredible. And he gives us a white dish. Everything is right. The roux, the ingredients in the dish, they're all pure white. And he gave us a white pottage curry udon. So it's udon noodles that are infused with cumin, which gives it a little heat and a little bit of texture. And obviously, everyone in the show thinks that this is not going to be a good dish. The judges are going to spit it out. But the minute they start eating the noodles, they can't stop eating it. Like, they don't even know they're eating it. So the ingredients within this dish are a soft poached egg, mashed potatoes, melted white cheese in a vichyssoise style soup. And vichyssoise is it's a creamy soup with leeks, potatoes, cream. It's supposed to be like a creamy, mellowy soup. And not only that, but there's coriander powder in the soup in order to make it a curry. So this is something that was incredible to me. From what I learned about vichyssoise soup, it was a soup that was made by a man named Louis Diat, who was the head chef of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. And this soup has been done for centuries. And Senji is a smart dude. So by going through books and finding a soup like this is pretty amazing. He used his own sense of the vichyssoise as the base for his curry. But he put his own twist on it using his method of cooking. It's a beautiful white dish that I would definitely love to try. It just goes to show that just because you seem weak to people doesn't mean you can't put out incredible work. And that's where this dish gets on the list. Usually I don't put that many side characters on my lists. I usually go for like the main characters or characters that surprise me throughout the show. And Zenji has surprised me at this part of the story. Command number 9. My favorite pink-haired jerk. Yeah. Kojiro Shinomiya was the jerk of the beginning of Season 1. And then he became somewhat of a mentor and to more than one character. I'm not going to spoil anything for the show, but in the battle to expel Megumi and Soma, the battle was vegetables. And this is where he shines. He's also a master of French cuisine. His nickname is the Legume Magician, which translates to Magician of Vegetables. He has the ability to transform simple vegetables and turn them into glorious works of art. And simultaneously turning anyone who eats them into a magical girl from anime. Yeah. That's an image you don't really need to see. For the challenge, he made a chauffage, which I'm not 100% sure what it is practically, but from what I've gathered, it's cabbage. It's kind of a cabbage roll, but a more elegant cabbage roll. You take pork and onions, and you mince them, and you put them into the middle of the chauffage, and then you wrap it up, and you steam them. However, he decided to take it up a notch and go into more French cuisine. He blanches the cabbage first. And the type of cabbage he was using, it has a bitter taste and an earthy taste until it's blanched, and it becomes really sweet. And then he takes duck breast, slices it open, sautés mushrooms, asparagus, and other small vegetables, fills that, and then he makes a mousse out of duck fat and cream to make kind of a duck confit mousse. He fills that into the duck breast, wraps it up in the cabbage, and then he steams it. A delicate way to prepare this dish. Something this delicate, as they're eating it, the cabbage has its sweetness that goes with the mushrooms and the asparagus and the duck. The foie gras mousse lingers, gets onto that tongue, and it just spreads, and it just makes you want it even more. It's a delicate procedure of cooking. And him being one of my favorite side villains from the beginning, and becoming one of my favorite characters in general, because of his backstory, of why he acts like this. But all in all, he ends up being a great character. And his cooking will make you want to wish a French restaurant opens up anywhere near you. Coming at number 8. A hell of a way to open up the third plate. With the Battle of the Festival at Totski, Soma goes head-to-head with one of the Council of 10, Kuga, who is a Szechuan and Cantonese specialist. So basically, he always makes mapo tofu, which is a spicy Szechuan dish. It's supposed to be very spicy, but also it's not spicy for the sake of being spicy and burning your customers' mouths, but more as the spiciness of it, and you get the flavor of it too. So it's not just the spice you taste, but it's the flavor of the spice, if that makes any sense. So it's basically like eating fire, getting the burn, but you taste it a little bit. I know, that's bizarre. So, in order to beat him, Soma comes up with curry mapo tofu. And this dish alone, I want it. I'm not a big tofu person. I've eaten tofu like twice in my life, and it wasn't really good. So what he does is he puts noodles into the mapo tofu. So he's going head-to-head with the mapo tofu god, pretty much. And the noodles are one thing. He eats it. But then for the third last day of the festival, he realizes that Kuga's giant palace restaurant can't serve everyone because people have to wait in line, and after eating, you have to leave. You can't rest. So by creating a pop-up place right next door, he's taking his customers with the intrigue of his mapo tofu noodles. And what's even better is he puts a giant meatball right in the middle. And as the first guy is eating the noodles, it's delicious, but it's not as good as Kuga's. Until he breaks open the meatball, and the image of a pure white moon comes out, and it starts seeping into the noodles, into the mapo tofu. And as he eats it, immediate nakedness. Just by sipping the noodles with whatever the moon was, instant nakedness. And it is gelatinized curry inside of a meatball. The spices entangle with the tofu, with the noodle, with the sauce, and it's so good. You can see his skeleton starting to come out as if the tofu is seeping into his very bones. And the impact of that dish is more than enough for anyone to try it. So if you want to make that bizarre dish, I'm sure the recipe's online. Go and find it. Command number 7, we're going back to a little bit of Italian cuisine. And from the younger brother of the Aldini twins, Isami, for the curry, again, we have another curry dish. This one is a curry bread calzone. Now, I've never had a calzone before, but from what I've heard, from what I've seen, it's basically like a pizza pocket, but you stuff it meats, cheese, vegetables, something like that. So what he did is he made his own calzone bread with grape yeast starter. So I think that's, from watching this episode, from watching it, that's a brilliant idea, because you get a little bit of the crisp tang of the grape essence in the crunchiness of the bread and the soft bread, and inside it's tomato. That's pretty much all it is, tomato. The juiciness of the tomato juice with the tomato, with the spices that he put in, makes it into a curry bread. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful to look at. Not only that, but it made me want to make tomato sauce the way he did this. No water, no extra liquid, just tomato. What he did is he takes a pot, no water, just a plain pot, fills it with tomatoes, put it on heat, let the juice from the tomato just come out as it cooks down, and then after a while he puts in his spice blend, which brings out the tomato's umami to make it even more pronounced. And then he stuffed that into the bread, you bite into it, and you get this juicy tomato rush in your mouth. And it's something that's easy to make, and something I desperately want to try, because it looks so delicious. It looks so simple. I think if I gave this to an Italian person, I would be set for life. So, anyone who's a calzone fan, like the guy in Parks and Rec, start making this, because you're gonna be busy. Comment number 6. Another one of Soma's dishes that he went up against Subarumi Masaka in the second semifinals of the fall selection. The theme was Western cuisine, so they could have made anything they wanted via Western cuisine, but Mimasaka goes up against Soma, and there's high stakes on the line in this battle. I'm not going to give away story plot in this video, so people who want to watch Food Wars, go watch it. You won't regret it. So he's doing beef stew with oxtail. And Mimasaka's a copycat. He will copy and through his own twist. And his twist is mesquite smoked, brown sugar, 3-day brine bacon as a garnish for the stew. Just the description of that bacon alone makes me even more into a carnivore. I love bacon. Soma's answer to this copycat, he brings out 4 different cuts of unique meats. He's got tongue, he's got cheek, he's got honeycomb, he's got skirt steak. Now, as he brings all this out, I'm thinking this is what he's going to do. Because there's 5 different judges, he's going to give each stew one of the meats for a garnish. One of the different meats to pair with the oxtail stew. So what he does is he boils the tongue. He cuts the skin off so he can properly cook it. He marinates the cheeks in red wine with some herbs. He puts the honeycomb into a pot to grill, and then he runs out of the stadium, comes back with a charcoal grill, and starts cooking the flank steak. Which doing these types of meats in a different way accents a different flavor profile of the meat. Because doing the same meat a different way will create a different profile for that meat. So doing 4 different types of meat is a better way to go. But no, Soma, being the nut job he is, throws all of the meat into the same dish to create the beef stew fall selection special. So you got the cheek, you got the tongue, you got the honeycomb, the flank steak, and the oxtail stew. And even though it looks like a mishmash of different meats, it creates one of the most amazing dishes I could ever imagine. One of them. Because it looks so good. And I love beef stew. I am mad that this kind of thing exists for beef stew, and I want it this bad. It's wintertime. It's cold in Canada. Make me a beef stew like this. I'm not kidding. I love this type of beef stew in my life. Because the different textures of each meat combined with the stew makes you... It's like it builds on each one and creates an amusement park of thrill. Oh my God, I think my head's about to explode because of this. But let's continue, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the top 5 now. And oh my God, it gets better. If none of you are half nude from explosion of thinking about these food, you're doing something wrong. Coming at number 5. Finally, a dish from my man Rio. I love this character. He's a complete nutcase when it comes to cooking. And when in season 3, when he is fighting in order to stay alive, the main ingredient he uses is salmon. Rio, being a seafood psycho, he is a specialist with seafood. One of his big gimmicks is mashing food umami right into your mouth. Okay, that sounded dirty when I said that. He's a vicious cook. The flavors and the umami of all the things he makes combine so well it feels like a barrage of flavor is attacking you and you're powerless to stop him. This dish he makes is one I never heard of, and it looks so good, I want it. I've said that so many times in this list, but I want this dish. It's a salmon kulibiak. I think I've said that correctly. It's basically a royal Russian dish. So you take salmon, and you take 2 different types of grain. You take barley, you take rice, and you cook them in butter with shallots. And you have you can either do puff pastry, or you could do a brioche bun. So what you do is that you take the brioche, you put it down, you put the rice, you put the salmon on top of it, you put the barley on top of that, and then you wrap it up and you cook it and you bake it. So basically it's like a cream puff, but with salmon and rice in it. And the flavor of the rice is done so beautifully with the barley, with the rice, with the brioche bun. But Rio does a twist. In the middle layer between the rice and the brioche bun, he made a spinach crepe. And that, I mean, I'm not a big spinach person, but that sounds delicious. Because it creates a different flavor profile, and he added his own spice mix. And during his stagiaire at an Indian restaurant, he learns about spices. And this elevated his cooking to a level where he could not have reached. In the spice mix, he's got rock salt, garlic, thyme, and dried bacon powder. And his opponent in this uses heat for his cooking. He did like a salmon cube wrapped in bacon. Kind of the same thing, but different aesthetically. Not only what makes Rio's dish spectacular is the fact that he put the spice mix in the spinach crepe. He did it unevenly. He did a little bit there, so it was uneven throughout the whole crepe. That way, when you take a bite of the kulibiak, you got the flavor of the salmon, the spinach crepe, the bun, the rice, the barley, and then another bite, you'll get the spice mix. So it's the same dish, but you get a different combination of flavor as you bite into it more and more. And that's what makes this elevated dish of Rio's beautifully done. I want this dish now. I'm not joking. Coming at number L4. His battle with Akira Hayama in the Western cuisine. The seafood master did an eel matelote, which is a French dish, I believe. It's a way of cooking eel in wine. And I've said I want dishes, but this is the one I want the most. The eel is filleted. Everything's taken out. It's cooked, and then it's wrapped in crepine, which is like the lining of intestines, like a sheep's stomach. It's used to close it up in order to cook it and give it a nice fatty profile. And he also has creamy mashed potatoes and homemade brioche with this dish. And as the eel is sizzling and the fat is starting to pop, he adds red wine to it to cook it down more. And for a secret weapon, he stuffed the eel with dried plums, to give it an acidic bite as you bite into it, to give it the acidity from the plums. And then you take a little bit of everything on the dish, the eel, the brioche, the mashed potatoes, and you eat it all at once, and just the flavor of each one it feels like you're getting beaten up by this dish, but you're enjoying it because it's so delicious. This is something that he does very well, slamming umami together and making a powerful, impactful dish. Oh, what could be better? What could be the top 3 now? Well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Number 3 from the third plate. A man who's naked half the time. Ishiki. Best boy in Food Wars. I'm not even joking. He is one of the best characters because he's kind of like an older brother / mentor a little bit. And I love him. His crazy antics. But then when it comes to the third plate, we finally see him get serious. When in the Battle of Eel, he makes, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, hitsumabushi, which is a way of cooking eel, like grilling it. But the way he did this eel, he did it in a kanzai style, which is like he charred it to give the skin nice and crispy and for the fat to really come through. And what's great about this dish, during the cooking process, his opponent insulted the people he lived with, the Polar Star Dorm, and that's when we see his eye get really shot deep, and he gets serious. It's scary but awesome at the same time. He used ingredients that his underclassmen were creating themselves in this dish. He used a cheese that was being tested, and he used it to make a cheese risotto, so the cheese is entangling the rice, and just the mere thought of it is making my mouth water. I'm starving right now for this. The cheese risotto alone would have been an amazing dish, but not only that, he uses I can't remember what the other one was, like a malt, I think like a rice malt, I believe he made, that his students made, that he used. Not only that, but one thing that was used in order to enhance the flavor of the eel was walnut wood smoked garlic chips. Now, from what I understood from this episode, garlic is not used in traditional Japanese cooking, which I find bizarre. Because garlic has such a great flavor profile, but using these ingredients that would never work alone and bringing them together in this amazing dish, it just shows how much he respects and how much he needs his fellow underclassmen. And it's funny that he used all these ingredients without any of their permission. But just looking at the dish itself, the cheese risotto, the grilled eel. Oh, the malt that was used after you eat some of the eel and after some of the risotto, the cheese risotto, he's got eel liver soup in a pot. That's used with the rice malt that was made. So you pour that into the dish and then you eat it, and it just, oh my God, I'm shaking. This dish had me so hungry that I dreamt about it, and I had a clothing explosion. Let's just say that. The dish was so good in a dream. Ishiki, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna find a way to make this dish one day. I'm not kidding you. The Hitsumibushi gets the number 3 spot for it coming from a character who has not done that much cooking in the show. It shows his dedication to his own traditional Japanese roots of cooking, and also being a sneak, stealing his classmates' ingredients without their permission. That's just Ishiki for you. He does what he wants, and he does it well. Watch the show, people. You will love him. And all the women who are watching this, he may very well be your dream husband. For some reasons and another. All right, we're at number 2, ladies and gentlemen. This was the end of the 3rd season. Soma is battling his opponent, who is a master of soba noodles. And he gets to pick the theme of the challenge, and being Soma, he accidentally picks soba. Yep. But what he's doing, instead of doing traditional soba, he makes barley soba stir fry. He takes a wok, which is not used for soba cooking, which is not used for soba noodles. He makes the dough, he grinds it out with a machine. I mean, they're allowed to use whatever they want. And he fries up the noodles. And everyone is astounded because it's the thing about soba noodles is that it's got the taste and the aroma of the noodle is important in the dish. No matter what you add to it, the noodle has to be the main focus of the dish. Because you can't do anything that would mess up the aroma, the flavor, the throat feel. Yeah, that's an actual thing when it comes to soba noodles. And he adds duck, green onions to it, and he's frying it up in a wok, and it's just beautiful seeing him take a risk. He says he's making instant soba noodles, which is kind of dumb when you're doing this challenge. But when he presents it, it's still sizzling. They eat it, and all of the noodles' aromas and flavors are intact. While frying them in the wok, the noodles got a little crispy, giving a new texture. The duck fat with the green onions gives it a great flavor, but the noodle is still intact. And then afterwards, he makes a spice mix with ginger, a couple other spices, to make it like instant soba noodles. And it's beautiful to look at, and I love noodles, so I would definitely enjoy this dish. But the one thing that really made it bizarre is that the traditional woman, she was wondering, like, so what? He just got lucky. But her soba noodles were not as perfect as she thought. The thing that Soba did differently is he used Ichibanko flour. So from what I understand, from what they explain in the show, soba noodles have 3 different types depending on which part of the kernel is used of the wheat. Ichibanko, Sanbanko, and Ninbanko. He used Ichibanko flour, which is harder, it has a coarser throat feel, but the flavors are better. And not only that, But her noodles, his opponent, they weren't at their best. The reason why is because of where they were. The temperature in the arena was dropping because it was so cold. Soma, realizing this, decided to stir fry his noodles so that they would stay hot without destroying the flavors. So that's another good thing about seeing your environment, seeing what ingredients will work, and working around it. And he won this battle, and he made me want to try soba noodles now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the number 1 spot, ladies and gentlemen. So, we've had a good majority of bizarre food here. We had French-style eel. We had white curry. We've had bento boxes. We've had salmon. We've had beef stew. We had a calzone. What's going to be the top dish for me? A hamburger. For those of you who watch the show, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, you're probably wondering what the heck I'm talking about. Akira Hayama. The man whose nose is incredible. Also, he's got the dark skin and the white hair. He just looks so freaking cool. His ability to smell spices, he is the Spice King. One thing he does in this challenge, for the hamburger challenge, oh my god, he makes a kofta kebab burger. Just say that in your head again, and you're going to be like the judges. You're going to be like dogs begging for the meat. So what he does is he does a kebab on a slow rotisserie, and he's got the spices and the fat dripping down as it cooks. For his burger, he makes a kofta, which is a mix of onions, lamb, and beef, which is beautiful. I love eating kofta. So if I could make a kofta burger myself, I would if I had the ingredients. Not only that, but instead of doing a generic bread, he makes pita bread. He makes the pita bread that puffs up, so there's a big pocket in the middle, cuts it in half, and fills it with the ingredients. And doing a burger like that is incredible. So before he gets it ready, he slices off some of the kebab and puts it in the burger with the kofta. So that's meat on top of meat. And how good is it? Well, after having one bite, the judges ate the whole thing. They didn't even know they ate it all. It disappeared like that. And why? Because the main ingredients for a burger: bun, patty, sauce, and pickles. You need pickles. It's the secret star of the dish that gives you the acidity, and it makes you keep eating it. And what did he use for his pickles? He used an achar, which is a condiment, which is pickling vegetables in spices. He used onions for his achar, and he used so many spices in it, I can't remember, but he also used mango to give it a little bit of acidity. He used coriander, black pepper, a whole bunch of other spices I can't even remember because he's the Spice King. He practically threw everything in there. The achar mixed with the kebab and the kofta with the soft pita bread bun, it creates a perfect Middle Eastern burger that, yeah, it gets the top spot because I love burgers. I love kofta. I love pita bread. I love it all. Everything in this burger is something I would want. And it's quite possibly the ultimate burger. And that's something I've never said before in my life. And that's why the kofta kebab burger gets the number 1 spot for my top 13 Food Wars dishes. Thank you for joining me today, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome very much. Now, join me next week where we do another game review where we're breaking all the rules. This is Gamer K, logging out.